order. Good afternoon, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. Indeed, it is another joyful occasion to have you all here with us this evening as we celebrate once again this wonderful gift of GAP. My name is Kevin Mondoe, and I have the singular privilege and honor for this 118th meeting to serve as the presiding officer. This evening, as Maggy would remind me, I am reminded of the timeless words of that author and poet Maya Angelou, who once said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Ladies and gentlemen, if we seek to change minds, if we seek to speak persuasively, we must begin with that heart-to-heart conversation. At Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, we not only practice speaking, we elevate it. Whether you have been a Toastmaster for a while and you feel like you have hit that proverbial plateau in your growth, Watabaruku is the next frontier for you. Our deep evaluations that come in 3 impactful doses and our purposeful, goal-driven growth is indeed a sure bet to take your Toastmasters journey to the next level. And with that spirit, with that said and done, I'd propose that let the learning begin, let the laughter begin, let the transformation begin. But before we get too deep, allow me to invite our Sergeant at Arms to read to us the meeting etiquette. Over to you, Maggy Waithiru. Maggy, you are still at mute.
I will have to read it as I'm having a challenge sharing my screen, and that will also force you to listen keenly. The first point we want to share with you is, what does Watabaruku mean? Especially for you who is not familiar with Kiswahili. It is a Swahili word that means people who gather for social purposes. We are an online advanced club founded in District 114, an East African district, and it's open to members worldwide. It doesn't matter where you are, you can join us because, as you heard, it is an online meeting. It's an online club. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. How do we do it in Watabaruku? What makes us different? You've heard it from the presiding officer that this club, what we do is we give a triple-tiered evaluation. You will hear evaluations from 3 different presenters who will coach the speakers through their growth. You will hear on content, on delivery, and on language. All this is based on the Toastmasters International Accredited Speaker Program. The meeting themes you've heard is from the Advanced Communications Manual because we want to continue advancing the Toastmasters Legacy Program. We also offer education workshops. Keep your eyes peeled for items that keep coming up throughout the year. We meet on the 2nd and the 4th Friday at this time, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. East African time. And for you to become a member, all you need to do is to have completed level 3 of any path in the Pathways Learning Experience. And our Vice President of Membership can also tell you how does that translate in the legacy system. I will share with you the renaming convention to help you understand what you need to do. And it's easier for you to see it on the chat, which I will share shortly. Meeting guidelines, kindly keep your video on throughout the meeting if your bandwidth allows you, because that helps the speakers to know that they're speaking to people in the room. We request that you please keep your mic on mute unless you're asked to speak. That will help reduce the disruptions. Feel free to engage using emojis and chat throughout, and use the polls to give feedback when you are requested to do so. You will see the poll come up in the chat function or on the screen. Most importantly, enjoy the meeting, learn, and we only learn through experience. And therefore, if you want to be part of our club, please consider being a member and also sign up for a role in future. Back to you, Presiding Officer.
Thank you so much, our wonderful Vice President for Public Relations and the current SAA, Maggy Waithiru, for a role well executed. Forwards and onwards, I would like now to invite the members of Exco present here to introduce themselves and probably just say a word wherever they're joining us from. And to start us off, I will invite our club president, none other than Robert Karanja, DTM. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you so much, IBP Kevin. Thank you everyone for making the time to join us this evening to help our members grow in a supportive and positive environment. Looking forward to an amazing, amazing evening ahead. Back to you.
Thank you so much, our President, Robert. Forwards and onwards, we will go to our Vice President for Public Relations, Maggy Waithiru. Over to you, Maggy.
Hi and bye.
Thank you so much for being brief. Amazing. Majority of our Exco members are attending the COT that is running parallel to this meeting, so they haven't been able to join us. At this point, allow me to sample a few of the guests who are joining us. I'll ask them to identify themselves, probably tell us the club they're joining us from and what they look forward to this evening. To start us off, in no particular order, I will go with Purple. Over to you, Purple.
I can't say much because I'm struggling to get home. I'm not in a very calm environment. Sorry.
No worries, Purple. I'm sure Marianne Moora will do a good job to represent to you. Marianne Moora, over to you.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm Marianne from Jude Toastmasters. Actually, I've just seen the post in East Africa and I decided, let me just pop in and learn more. To learn more, get more skills, especially in leadership and communication. Thank you.
You are so welcome, Marianne, and we do guarantee you that you will leave having satiated your appetite for learning. The next person is Deborah Talemwa. Deborah, over to you. Where are you joining us from and what are you looking forward to this evening?
Thank you so much. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. My name is Deborah Talemwa, joining from Kampala. I'm a Toastmaster from Kampala Sunrise. I expect to learn and unlearn the tactics of persuasive leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Definitely, we look forward to learning from each other this evening. And to close us off, I will invite Jacqueline Kerubo. Jacqueline, over to you.
Hi everyone, good evening Toastmasters and guests. My name is Justin from Downtown Toastmasters and I'm happy to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you, Jacqueline. Looking forward to you joining us more and more. The poet Mary Oliver once said, "Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life." May this meeting be one of those answers to this question. Ladies and gentlemen, the Toastmaster of today evening needs no introduction in Toastmaster circles. But for the sake of our guests and visiting Toastmasters from all over the world, allow me to share a few highlights of Robert Karanja, DTM, our Toastmaster of today evening. DTM Karanja is a seasoned communicator and accomplished leader who recently completed his term as district director. Throughout his journey from club officer to district leader, he has championed strong clubs, meaningful mentorship, and membership growth. In preparing for this meeting, Robert asked each role taker a reflective question. If you could persuade a room full of people to take one action, what would it be and why? This question perfectly sets the stage for a meeting that is not just about speaking, but about speaking with purpose. If Robert could persuade a room full of people to take one action, it would be to refuse to be mastered by their context. Amazing. He believes that while our circumstances may shape us, they do not define us. Instead of being limited by challenges, we can use our experiences, both painful and powerful, to craft a better, braver version of ourselves. As they say, make your craft as you fly it. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite you to unmute your microphones, switch on your cameras, and join me in a thunderous applause as we welcome our Toastmaster of today evening, the former district director, Robert Karanja. Robert Karanja, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. IPP, for that amazing introduction. It is a great pleasure for me to be here this evening. One of the things that I remember once I became the program quality director of the district about 2 years ago was that I attended the first meeting. And at the end of the meeting, they turned to me and said, yeah, so speak to us, Mr. PQD, give us some words of wisdom. That was the first time that something like that ever happened to me. And so I started scrambling through my brain for how I was going to speak in an inspiring, in a captivating manner to that audience, that being my first trio position. And this evening, I'm going to be sharing with us the framework that I have come to rely on that has been so effective in those sharing of wisdom that I actually use it for all my speeches these days. And this evening, we're going to learn how to speak persuasively, a skill that empowers us to inspire, motivate, and influence the people that are around us. And at the end of this meeting, I will have shared the 5 steps in what is called the Monroe motivated sequence of motivation, how to structure your presentation in a way that is going not only to captivate the minds, but also to influence the hearts of the people that you're talking to. Like Jay Henrich says, persuading is the art of getting people to do what you want and to like doing it. And so through this 5-step process, which we are going to cover in the course of this meeting, we are going to learn how to do this effectively. And this evening, before I go into introducing the assignment takers and the role takers of our meeting this evening, I would just like to give us an overview of how the Watabaruku meeting is going to look like. We're first of all going to have the speeches, which are going to be followed by, this evening we're going to have 2 speeches, and these are going to be followed by the table topics segment, and then we're going to have the evaluations, where each of our speakers is going to be evaluated by 3 different members of the audience who have been assigned to look at either their content, the delivery, or the language that they used in their presentation, to give them a 360 or a comprehensive look at how they can improve and how they are doing as public speakers. Finally, we're going to get to the report segment of our meeting before we have the awards and end the meeting. So I would like to bring on to ask our first assignment taker to introduce their role. And for this evening, we have Rahma Salim, who will serve as timer during this meeting. She shared that if she could persuade people to embrace one value, it would be empathy. She believes empathy softens conflicts, strengthens relationships, and builds communities where every voice feels heard and every life feels value. Toastmaster Rahma, please tell us about the timer role.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the evening. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and invited guests. First of all, I would like to ask the SA to make me a co-host so that I can share my screen. On to my role as the timekeeper, I will time the table topic speakers, formal speeches, and the evaluations. I will also alert each speakers of the time they have left using the green, yellow, and red cards, which denote specific time remaining. I will display those cards at the end of me saying them so that you can see them. So for table topic speakers, They should limit their remarks to no more than 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will display the green card. At 1 minute 30 seconds, I will display the yellow card. And at 2 minutes, I will display the red card. Those giving speeches should limit their remarks to their specific speech times. Most probably, the time is between 5 to 7 minutes. So at 5 minutes, I will display the green card. At 6 minutes, I will display the yellow card. And at 7 minutes, I will display the red card. The red card will remain on the screen for 30 seconds. The individual evaluations, as you have been told, for Watabaruku, there's 3 types of evaluation. For the content and delivery evaluation, it should be between 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I will display the green card. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I will display the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, I will display the red card. The red card will remain on the screen for 30 seconds. For the language evaluation, it should limit for 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will display the green card. At 1 minute 30 seconds, I will display the yellow card. And at 2 minutes, I will display the red card. The red card will remain on the screen for 30 seconds. So here are the cards which I'll be sharing. That's the green card. That's the yellow card. And lastly, I will post the red card. And that's the red card. Thank you, and back to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you very much, our timer, Rahma Salim, for serving us in this role for this evening and for the introduction of your role. Next, we're going to have Ken Agutu, who will be serving as the language evaluator for both our speakers this evening, as well as the grammarian of this meeting. He shared that in a world full of fakeness and fear of authenticity, he will persuade people to believe in themselves and accept who they truly are. According to him, everyone is unique and brings their own brand of beauty to the world. Over to you, Ken Agutu, to tell us about your role.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the day. Good evening, everybody. Very nice to see everybody looking so bright on a Friday evening. My role as a grammarian today is, number one, to look out for the good usage of language, and I'll do this by paying attention to every person that speaks at this evening's meeting. I'll take note of any improper language also. I'll look out for outstanding quotes, words, sayings, thoughts. And it is also my duty as the grammarian to introduce the word of the day. I had shared the word of the day earlier, and for the sake of those who haven't seen it, the word of the day is mercurial. Mercurial. Mercurial means subject to sudden or unpredictable changes of mood or mind. You can say his mercurial temperament. You can also say her mercurial temperament made her difficult to work with. I will give other examples. For instance, in terms of politics, you could say the mercurial nature of the president's decisions kept his advisors on edge, never knowing what direction policy would take next. In sports, You could say he's a mercurial striker, brilliant one match, invisible the next. The weather, the mountains' mercurial climate caught the hikers off guard, shifting from sunshine to a thunderstorm within minutes. It is also my duty to give the language evaluation for our speakers. As you have heard, Watabaruku meetings are also different from what we are used to, and I will be giving an evaluation of the language usage by every person presenting a prepared speech this evening. At the end of the meeting, I will give my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Ken Agutu, for that introduction of your role and for sharing the word of the day, mercurial, with us to help us build our vocabulary in the course of this meeting, something that we can continue to use even after we are done with this meeting. And finally, the general evaluator for this meeting is the District Club Growth Director, Jude Benda. And Jude says if he were to speak to a room full of non-Toastmasters, he will persuade them to join or start a Toastmasters club. He believes Toastmasters offers a proven pathway to greater confidence, stronger communication, and effective leadership. By participating, individuals can unlock personal and professional growth while becoming part of a supportive community. For Jude, it is not just about speaking, it's about transformation, being a member of Toastmasters. And his clear message is, let us grow together. Over to you, CGD Jude, to tell us about your role.
Thank you so much, our Toastmaster of the evening, Robert. As your general evaluator for this evening is just looking at the meeting, how it started, how it has gone on, and how it will end. I will look at how we have performed as role takers from the Toastmaster of the day up to the last person on the agenda in a way of trying to improve our meetings and also perform better in our different roles. I'll come back and give a general report after the evaluations. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator Jude, for that introduction. The first step, before we move on to the prepared speeches for this evening, the first step towards persuading the members of the audience is to grab the audience's interest. And if you can't grab an audience's focus, you cannot influence them. And so you have to hook your listeners from the very first word. As a public speaker, you have just the first 90 seconds for the audience to decide whether they're going to keep listening to you or focus on something else. And so you need to utilize those few seconds when you get started with your presentation to be effective as a presenter. And how do you do this? Begin with a story, begin with startling facts, or begin with a vivid image that is going to strike the minds of the members of your audience. Over the time we have spent as Toastmasters, we've probably had different ways of grabbing the attention of the audience. And if you've seen something particularly interesting to you, please feel free to post it in the chat so that the rest of us can learn how to grab the attention of our audience. And so that is the first step towards being speaking persuasively. And now I would like to bring on the first speaker. This evening we have the privilege of listening to two speakers who are members of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters. First, we're going to hear from Alligator Makori, then we're going to hear from Winston Owino. Alligator Makori, who is going to be evaluated by Daudi Mugabi for his content, and Kisakye Purple for his delivery, and finally Ken Agutu, the Grammarian, for his language delivery. Eric Alligator Makori says that if he could persuade people to take one action, it will be to take a vow to live by the golden rule. He draws his inspiration from Matthew 7:12. All things, therefore, that you want men to do to you, you also must do to them. For Eric, this principle is of mutual respect Empathy is the foundation for creating a more just, kind, and compassionate world, one thoughtful action at a time. I would now like to invite Ali's content evaluator, Daudi Mugabi, to please introduce his speech, the purpose, and also the title of his speech. Over to you, Daudi Mugabi.
Thank you very much, our Toastmaster of the evening. I would like to introduce Eric and his speech this evening. Eric is attempting his third pathway of presentation mastery, specifically the Advanced Mentoring Project. Eric has spent 6 months mentoring a fellow Toastmaster from his personal or professional life. That could be a Toastmaster or another individual. And as his content evaluator, today I'll be listening for a well-organized and well-delivered speech, specifically his speech development, the audience response to his speech, and finally, the speech value. Eric is going to talk about his overall experience as a mentor, and he may discuss one or two aspects of his experience. What Eric should not do is make his speech a report about the content of the Advanced Mentoring Project. I would now like to introduce Eric's speech title, which is The Mentor and the Mirror. Let's put our hands together for Eric as he presents and delivers his speech, The Mentor and the Mirror. Eric, over to you.
Have you had a mirror held out to you? I bet you have. I want to talk to you about a fantastic relationship that is exemplified best here in Toastmasters, but it also features in our other lives, including yours. The relationship between a mentor and a mentee. A relationship that has mutual benefits to the mentor as well as the mentee, even though oftentimes we imagine that it is only the mentee that is benefiting. The reality is that while the mentor guides, coaches, and advises the mentee, he's holding a mirror or she's holding a mirror, and if they turn that mirror, they see a reflection of themselves in the same mirror that they're holding up and are able to grow at the same time. The relationship between a mentor and a mentee is for sure mercurial, because you need a present mentee, a present mentor, and it's my prayer that both of you will make yourselves present. As offered, the relationship that I'm going to talk about is of a specific mentee called Mike Kongoti from my place of worship. And it's not true that it's been 6 months. It's been longer than 6 months. We started our relationship in January of 2020. As you may remember, 2020 is the year that the mercurial 2019 period was just arriving on our shores. The relationship, therefore, morphed from a face-to-face to an online relationship, mainly on the Zoom platform such as this. You have to be ready as a mentor to keep tabs with your mentee, whether face-to-face or virtually, or even through other methods of communication that allow you to keep tabs on the growth and the transcendental trajectory of both you and the mentee. As Mike's mentor, I witnessed his transformation from a person who could not even construct a 1-minute speech to a man that now can speak for 30 minutes, delivering a sermon. This is nothing other than magical. How did it start? We did have deep one-on-ones, and by hearing him out, I came to discover that he's a powerhouse of knowledge that is deep and experience that is unique, that he didn't know that he had and didn't have the rudiments with which to share the same. And we began by reading assignments at our place of worship. And finally, today, he's able, as he confessed to me in the month of November, to go to Tanzania to go and speak to people there. What progress, what boldness. Mentorship is indeed gratifying. The magic, therefore, is to recognize that the mirror works both ways. How did I personally benefit? As you may realize, I am struggling to tone down my speech, and oftentimes I have been given feedback about words that I choose in my speech. I learned from Mike that you can touch hearts much faster by speaking lower at a voice that is accessible, as well as a language that is accessible to the hearer. He didn't tell me, but I experienced it myself, and I loved it. We learn from our mentees, yes. We gain fresh ideas, perspectives, and we develop our own skills and knowledge. If we remember that we are holding the mirror, and the mirror works both ways. In Toastmasters mentoring, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we help, and indeed we are trained to do so, aren't we? To empower our mentees to think, to learn, and to grow. At the same time, just like in the case of between me and Mike, we become better mentors. We develop as leaders, and we develop as individuals. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, mentorship is a powerful two-way street that we should embrace for both our growth and the growth of others. Mike and I are still growing together through our mentorship, and I am grateful that we started this journey way back in 2020, and I've not relented because our purpose is still developing. Let us all embrace mentorship. Let us be present to be mentors when we are called upon to do so. And let us be present mentees. Let us benefit from the mirror that is held up to us. And we will keep growing together. We will soar higher than eagles, achieving and exceeding our objectives. Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Eric Alligator Makori, for that reminder of the importance of mentoring, what it can benefit us with, and how we can change the lives of other people by offering our time to them to help them grow as public speakers and as leaders. Thank you so much for that presentation. Now I'll seek your indulgence, because our second speaker is still joining the meeting. I'll seek your indulgence to briefly slightly change the program. We'll move on to the table topic segment of our meeting. and then we're going to come back to the second speaker. But before I bring on the table topics master for this evening, let me give you the second way, the second step in persuading an audience, and that is you need to create an urgency or highlight a gap. So motivation or persuasion begins with a felt gap in the lives of the people who are listening to you. So once you have their attention, you need to show the audience that there is a problem or a gap exists. You need to clearly frame your message around urgent and meaningful concerns that those people might have. And so how do you do this? Think about what is missing, what is broken, or what is at risk in the area that you are speaking on, and make that as clear as possible in the minds of your audience. And so those are the first two steps. First of all, you need to grab the attention of the members of the audience. And second, you need to create a sense of urgency or highlight a gap in their lives that you like them that you like to persuade them to close that gap or to address that urgent situation. Now we're going to be led through the table topic segment by Susan Kimani. And Susan says that if she could persuade a room full of people to take one action, it will be to show up as their true, authentic selves. She believes that authenticity is what makes us human, imperfect but real, and it's only through being raw and genuine that we build deep friendships, uncover hidden talents, and make the world a better place. Over to you, Susan Kimani, to take us through this impromptu segment.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the evening. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My role as the table topics master will be to handle the table topics. And here it is a chance for us all to practice impromptu speaking that are in line with our theme tonight. And I'll call upon members to share their thoughts about the questions or the topics. And the first person I want to volunteer is Ebenezer Makori. Ebenezer, are you there? Ebenezer? Okay.
I want to confess that I am not Ebenezer.
There. Oh, there is an Ebenezer Makori in the meeting.
To confess that I am not
Nevertheless,
Ebenezer
we
Makori.
can go to Geraldine. Okay. Geraldine.
Hello.
Hi, thank you. Your question is, would you convince us that remote work is better than working in an office? Working in an office. Over to you.
The month was March 2020. COVID struck. And before it struck, because I work in a health institution, we had inside information that there was going to be a lockdown. So my supervisor advised us to work from home that the week before the lockdown. So we started, and I worked for 2 years remotely. Never in my life had I been so productive. Never in my life had my mind opened up to so many possibilities. But then on the other hand, I missed frequent interaction with within the office banter. You know how it is. It's like school, it's like family. We used to celebrate birthdays together. So some of that went into the background. So I missed it. But 6 years later, I'm still working remotely. Not fully, but I enjoy the days I work from home because I'm more productive. So if you ask me, would I convince you that working from home is better than working in the office? I think working in the office is obsolete. That's my personal opinion. But hey, I'm just an introverted person who's very excited about working from home. So it's really up to you. But if you're like me, I know what your answer would be. Thank you.
Great. That was such a great answer. To be honest, I resonate with you. I prefer working from home than the office. And I have that. We'll call upon Japheth Madeka. Japheth.
Yes, dear Bobby season. Apologies, I'm actually on transit. I don't know how to put it now. Please let me know.
All right, no worries. Chapter, you want to take up the next table topics? Question? Millie? Millie is
Good
not.
evening. Yes, I would, but allow me not to turn on my video.
That's okay. Now your question is, you're given $1 million to fund one social cause. What should you choose and why? You're given $1 million to fund one social cause. What would it be and why?
Well, Toastmasters and guests, one cause that I would fund using $1 million. That is quite a difficult one, I must say. But what comes to my mind is to do with education. Perhaps I would look at mentorship in line with today's topic. I would look at mentorship for university graduates that I would use to fund it. This is my reason. Most of us get out of campus quite ambitious, very, very much thinking about how we want to change the world, how we want to do things better. And it is all watered down within a month of job seeking, within a month of looking for things to do and not finding what really you would engage in that will not, how do I call it? That would not turn down the fire. And in my thought, I would fund that so that so that people do not lose that fire, but instead channel the energy to other things, and in the process, we do not lose a lot of potential that comes from campus during the period of transition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Millie, and for sure, educate. Our next speaker, I want to choose Deborah Talemwa. Deborah, are you there? Deborah? Seems Deborah is not around. Hassan? Would you want to take up the next question? Hassan? Lea Minja?
Yes, the topic master. I'm available.
Lea?
Hello, I'm available.
Great. Now, yes, I can hear you. The question is, convince a friend to join Watabaruku Toastmasters Club. Convince a friend to join Watabaruku Toastmasters Club. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, how have you been doing? Oh, fantastic. However, I've been promoted to a senior management position where I attend a good number of stakeholders meeting who are high level. But as you know, I'm not that confident when it comes to performing some presentation. Do you happen to know where I can go and learn more and get some confidence or skills? Any leads you can assist, I'll be happy to take on. Perfect. I am very delighted to tell you. You know, there is this club called the Toastmasters. It's a global platform where we learn some leadership and professional speaking. I happen to be a member there. That is why you have been seeing me performing wonderfully when it comes to presentations. We are meeting twice per month. So if you can slot some time and join this club, it will enhance your presentation skills and you'll gain confidence. Why don't you come along with me? We are meeting next week and then you observe and see if it's something that is going to align with your mission. Thank you, and over to you. Thank you.
Wow, I loved your response. Thank you, Lea. And lastly, this one I want to give to a guest. Any guest who would want to volunteer and take up our last question.
I can
Nobody
take
is
it.
willing?
I can take it, Susan.
Thank you. Convince a friend to join. Sorry. Is it more important to prioritize individual freedom or collective well-being? Is it more important to prioritize individual freedom or collective well-being?
Is it better to advocate for individual freedom or collective well-being? A lot comes to mind when I think of that. If I am a member of a team, I need to feel confident that everybody is working on themselves. I believe in the power and the intentionality of living a wholesome life. We make better decisions for ourselves where we prioritize our health, we prioritize how we manage relationships. If we don't do that, we ourselves, who are part of a team, can bring down a team. Just because of that one bad apple, the whole sack can be thrown away, because then the negative, if I come in with a negative energy, means that I will affect the entire team. Therefore, as much as, yes, I do believe in collective well-being of the whole group, I also feel it is really important that change begins with me. I prioritize who I am and I prioritize my well-being. And in that case, if I show up strong, if I show up better, if I show up having prepared, in fact, something like this, in a meeting, I come prepared, then I know that the entire quality of the meeting is going to be informed by how I show up. Otherwise, if I come in and I have not prepared myself very well, the entire meeting is going to be affected by my poor preparation. And it could easily become the informing factor of the whole team that one person showed up negatively. I therefore believe, as much as yes, it is good to be part of a collective, part of a group, it is also important that we prioritize our individual freedom to choose wisely. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Great. That's a fantastic answer. And I truly resonate with that. That when we pour, it actually goes hand in hand when you can't pour from an empty cup. When we work on ourselves, when we better ourselves, and then collectively, we will be able to merge with other people and do great things. That has been my segment. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Table Topics Master Susan Kimani, for that amazing session and for giving our members and guests an opportunity to practice their impromptu speaking. Now, I would like us to take 2 minutes to do 2 items. First of all, I'll request the Sergeant at Arms to share the best table topic speaker poll for us to vote for the best table topic speaker. And we're going to give this one, let's give it 45 seconds, and then we move on to the next poll. Let us please vote quickly. Five more seconds to go. Madam SA, you may end the poll. Then I'll request her to share the audience feedback poll, where we are going to give Alligator Makori feedback for the speech that he delivered, what we thought about his presentation, give him words of encouragement along his journey as a Toastmaster. And for that, we are going to give it 1 minute. Very quickly, what comes to your mind as based on about Alligator's speech? We'll give it 1 minute and then close it. Ten more seconds. Thank you very much. We'll leave that running as we move on to the next segment of our meeting, and we'll go back to the second speaker. And we have the privilege of listening to Winston Owino deliver a speech. But before he comes on, here is the third way that we persuade a member of an audience, and that is by satisfaction. We present a clear and practical solution for the members of the audience to follow. So you've demonstrated that there is an urgent need that they need to meet, and now you're going to provide a clear and practical solution for them to meet that need. What you're trying to do is answer the question from the audience, what should we do? And so what you're going to do is suggest specific steps to resolve the challenge that you present, whether it is reclaiming time, finding rest, or rediscovering joy. An author said, simple enough to remember, the solution that you present needs to be simple enough to remember, strong enough to believe, and specific enough to follow. And now we're going to listen to Our second speaker this evening, this is Winston Owino, who is going to be evaluated by Dinah Oundo, who is going to evaluate his content, and Lucy Wanjiru, who is going to evaluate his delivery, and again Ken Agutu to evaluate his language. Please, Dinah, please introduce Winston Owino's speech.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. I hope I am audible. Yeah, my role this evening, I am gladly evaluating Toastmaster Winston Owino. Winston is doing his first pathway, and this pathway is on dynamic leadership. And he's on his 4th level doing his second project. And this project is questions and answers. He's practicing how to give a speech and handle a question and answer session to ensure that there's clarity given to all those he engages as he delivers this. The main purpose of this project is for him to learn how to practice facilitating a Q&A session, Q&A being questions and answer session, and also importantly for him to practice delivering an informative speech and running it through the time available. Winston, I will be looking out for a number of things as you give your speech, and more importantly, being the content evaluator, I'll look out for your speech development. How have you come up with your speech? What is the detail and criteria you used to come up with your speech? And then the audience response, how you engage them. Are they interested? Are they captivated? Do they ask questions? And do you answer them effectively? And finally, for the speech value, is it meeting the purpose of your project? Something intriguing about Winston is he's passionate about helping others become better, and that is why he's here to give this speech. And I believe in responding to the questions, he will be getting himself better and making others better. To avoid a mercurial moment timer, his speech is 15 to 20 minutes. So I request that you raise the green card at 15 minutes, the yellow at 18, and the red at 20 minutes. The speech title is Buy Back Your Time, Achieve Your Goals. Winston Owino, buy back your time, achieve your goals. Buy back your time, achieve your goals. Winston Owino.
This year, on the 2nd of March, something amazing happened in my life. I became a father. That's exciting news, right? But no one told me that what follows thereafter isn't that exciting. That cute, calm, and sleeping baby that I was given at the hospital turned out to be a noise-making night owl when we got home. He cried all through the night. And when he fed, he couldn't pass wind thereafter. And he also had trouble pooping. So there was a lot of attention and care I had to invest into my son. And so I found myself being sleep deprived. I found myself being lethargic, out of focus. And I wondered, how do I continue to strive towards my goals, my dreams, and my aspirations when this new wave of responsibility has left me sleep deprived? But then it dawned on me, Winston, you work as an executive assistant. Your job is to reclaim time for your boss so that he can spend it in the ways that are most meaningful to him. And the question became, can I implement the same strategies into my own life so that I can balance fatherhood as well as my professional aspirations? And this is how I zeroed in on what we call in my world of executive assistants, the 4 C's of leverage: capital, code, content, and collaboration. And today I'll be proposing these 4 C's of leverage to each and every one of you so that you can find ways of reclaiming your time, reclaiming your focus, and achieving your goals. Let's start with capital. This is simply if you can spend money
to hire someone to do the tasks that don't fall within your zone of genius, then that's how you start buying back time so that you can focus on activities that give you the most output for your time. And in our case, after various disagreements on how we were dividing labor between me and my wife, we realized my wife is still recovering from childbirth. In my case, I'm still doing my MBA. I still have work as much as I was at paternity leave. So how can we do this better? And it started with the decision to get help, hire a live-in house help. So we delegated every other task that didn't require our expertise so that we can only focus on what was meaningful to us. In my case, work, studies, and of course, time with the child. Executives do this by hiring executive assistants so that they can handle administrative tasks. And even in your case, you can do the same. What are those tasks that take up a lot of your time but directly feed into your output? Make a list of them and then decide how you're going to delegate them. Secondly, content. By content, I mean standard operating procedures. Whatever we're delegating, we fall into this temptation of thinking, if I hand this off to somebody else, they won't do it just as good as I can. But the answer is it's correct because you haven't trained them on the same. One of the things we realized is that this house help that we brought in wasn't really up to standard. But I asked my wife, what if we trained this person to go through the exact processes that we go through in order to get the exact output that we need? My wife realized that the house help would oftentimes, when cleaning the house, a spot here, miss the sink. When doing laundry, would mix up our clothes and the baby's clothes. And that wasn't really favorable for us. But I sat down with my wife and I told her, if you model exactly the process that you go through to get your desired output, then with time, she'll be delivering the desired output. And that began to happen. And so I asked, in what ways have you held on to tasks that drain your energy, that take up too much of your time, just because you felt that if I hand it over to somebody else, they won't do an equally good job? Think again. Thirdly, code. That's just a fancy term for leveraging software or tools that help you implement automation and save time in the long run. I realized after becoming a father that your priorities change overnight. In fact, in the early days, you barely have time for anything else. And so what I decided is that I would befriend my calendar. I was going to designate one day of the week, and I would set out my priorities for the entire week. And anything else that came out, if it wasn't an emergency, then I didn't have time for. And what I noticed is that by scheduling time on a Sunday to just decide how my week was going to flow and block every activity in my calendar, then every day I wouldn't have to spend time in the morning just to figure out what should I be focusing on, what should I be doing. And you see, when it comes to implementing software or tools, it doesn't have to be things that are grand, things that are out of this world. Simple things such as your calendar can be your best friend when it comes to this. Set aside one day of the week. Decide, what am I going to prioritize this week? Block it off on your calendar. And then when the week starts, just run on autopilot. And for me, I never missed, whether it was time to wash my baby, time to focus on my MBA assignments, or even time to do work while I was on paternity leave. And now we come to the fourth thing, and that is collaboration. As we seek to grow both personally and professionally, we seek to find answers to the challenges that we have. But if you're going it alone, you'll realize that it's taking you a considerable amount of time to find these answers. And this is where bringing other people alongside you on your journey helps. It helps cut short the time that you would have spent in trying to find out these answers. In the early days, I must confess, that change that hit me of becoming a father hit me pretty hard. I remember like it was yesterday. My wife woke me up and told me, Winston, I think there's something wrong. And that started the journey to the hospital. I was there until the following day at 1 a.m. when my baby was born. I checked out of the hospital at 2 p.m. that same day. When I went home, did a couple of things, slept, and then the call came the following day. Winston, come and discharge your wife and your baby. By the time I got home, it was time for me to get to work. Came my life. It felt like everything was just spiraling out of control. And so this is what I decided to do. I approached a friend of mine who is also a churchmate, and I asked him, what challenges did you face when you had your first child? And I realized my situation wasn't unique to me. What I was facing is what other people have also faced. And that started this doing life together with this family. And I started having answers to all these parenting questions that I had. And if I had decided to do it alone, to this day, I would also be struggling. And so here comes the question. How can you invite other people? They could be on the same journey as you are. It could be mentors. It could be people who've already gone the journey. How can you invite these people to give you answers so that you can cut short the time that you would have otherwise spent in finding these answers out for yourself? Why is any of what I've said important? All of you have goals, you have dreams, you have aspirations. And as you seek to grow professionally and personally, so do the demands on your time. So how do you ensure you're only focusing on what is most meaningful to you? Simple. The 4 C's of leverage. Capital. If you can hire somebody else to do it, but you only focus on activities that give you the best return of your time, why not? If you can invest the time upfront to either create a process or train the person you're delegating to, then it saves you a lot of time in the long run. If you can adopt software or tools that help you create automation and save you time in the long run, then why not? And lastly, if you can collaborate with other people who probably are on the same journey as you, or who've already walked that path, then why not engage them and save yourself the time that you'd have taken to find the answers out yourself? This is how you buy back your time, reclaim your focus. Spend your time on the things that matters most to you. This is how you achieve your goals through buying back your time. At this point, I will now invite questions from the floor, and I'll ask the timekeeper to help with this. And how we will do this is you can raise your hand using the emoji, and then timekeeper, I'll just request that any person who raises their hand, you can pick at random. You can call on them to ask the question. And once we run out of time, you can close the question and answer session.
Okay, welcome, Toastmaster Sega. You raised your hand.
Thank you so much. My question to Toastmaster Winston is this. You say that we must focus on things that are meaningful, and I want to know, in today's life, are we focusing too much on creating meaning or doing something that has got meaning? And in that case, then end up neglecting pleasure or just doing something just for the sake of it. And I'm wondering if that too much focus on meaning is not the one that leads to the burnout and other mental issues that most of us are struggling with. Thank you.
Great question, which is almost a philosophical question. It reminds me of the book, Man's Search for Meaning. But back to your question, do we focus on creating meaning or doing things that are already meaningful? My answer would be, you decide, since this is unique to you, you decide what's meaningful to you. Is it your work? Is it family? Is it your hobbies? You decide what's meaningful to you. Then the second step would be, how do I allocate time, sufficient time to all these activities without sacrificing one or the other? Then anything outside of what you've decided is meaningful, you'll evaluate to consider if you can allocate time to it. That's how I would respond to that question, Sega. Next question, timekeeper.
I don't see any hand raised. You still have some more minutes. You are at 14 minutes. Members, can you please raise your hands and answer? Okay, we
see a
have
hand with
Millie Chepto. Okay, you can answer. You can ask the question.
Thank you. I would like to ask. Just a moment. I would like to ask Toastmaster Winston, do you think true balance exists really, or it is more about being at peace with some imbalance? Because I find it quite very difficult to strike balance that I would call true balance. Thank you.
Excellent question. Can we achieve perfect balance? I believe that's what you're asking. My answer rather would be no. On this side of eternity, I doubt we'll ever achieve perfection. And just this past week, I came from a high. I was so productive. I was even boasting to my friends about how they should use my system for becoming productive. And then came this week. Setbacks beset me, and I found myself just cruising through the week. Now, here's what I know. It all comes down to the systems that you have implemented. And even if you fall off the bandwagon of productivity or achieving balance, the one thing you can do is just go back to the very systems that you have put in place and ask yourself, are they serving me? Then a second aspect of how I would answer that question is your systems will work depending on the season. Before I became a father, of course, I was just cruising through each and everything I was doing. I had set time for my exercise, set time for work, set time for family. Everything was falling into place. And then the baby comes, and now you find yourself in a new season. You have to adjust. So what I would say is have your systems, make them near perfect. They won't always be perfect, but always adapt depending on the season that you're in. That's how your systems will serve you. Does that answer your question, Millie?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Awesome.
Wilson, you have a question at the chat. It states, how do you mitigate risks involved in trading cash for time? How do you mitigate risks involved in trading cash for time?
Good
Japhet
question.
Madeka asked you that question.
Good question, Japheth. And that comes all down to how you source the person you're delegating to. Let's say you have a project and you realize if you hire a freelancer, then that would also help you focus on what's most meaningful to you or what's within your zone of genius. Now, the second step would be, which platform do I source the freelancer from? If you go through reputable freelancing sites such as Fiverr, Guru, Upwork, then there are some risk mitigation strategies that these platforms have already put in place. But again, if you hire any Tom, Dick, and Harry, be sure that you've already increased your risks. So the risk of losing either your money or not getting the job done have become much higher than if you go through a professional platform. So where you're sourcing the person you're delegating to really matters. That's how I would answer that question, Japheth. All right, I see a thumbs up from Japheth. Timekeeper, do we have time for another question? I believe I saw
You are
Alligator's
at
hand up.
19 minutes.
All right, Japheth, that won't be sufficient time for me to answer your question, but I can follow up with you right after this and we can catch up on the question you had and I can offer a meaningful answer. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for adding on to your knowledge of this topic through the questions you've asked. Remember, reclaiming your time helps you reclaim your focus, and that helps you operate within your zone of genius and achieve your goals. Remember those 4 C's of leverage: capital, content, code, and collaboration. I'd be happy to have a chat with anyone who still feels they have any clarification they need to make with me. But with that, over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Winston Owino, for your speech and for handling that question and answer quite well. We thank you for the knowledge that you've shared with us this evening. Winston said that if he had the opportunity to persuade a room of one thing, he will do exactly what he was trying to do earlier this evening, and which is to persuade people to find ways to buy back their time so that they can invest it in what truly matters, like pursuing personal goals and meaningful experiences. I will request the Sergeant at Arms to share the better speaker poll. We are going to see that for 45 minutes, 45 seconds, sorry. Twenty more seconds. You may end the poll. Next, please show us the audience feedback poll for Winston's speech. Let me give us 1 minute to fill in this poll. 15 more seconds. Okay, let us proceed with the rest of the meeting. Madam SA, you can keep up that poll until the evaluations are done. We're now going to move on to the evaluation segment of our meeting. And before I call the evaluators for the first speech, let me share with us the fourth step in how to deliver a persuasive speech, and this is visualization, helping the audience imagine the results. So you've just given them a solution, clear steps that they can follow, and now you're going to help them visualize how it will look like when they adopt the solution that you have presented to them. In this step, you help the audience imagine what their life will look like if they followed the solution, or what it will look like if they didn't. Great persuasive speakers paint pictures with their words. And so what you're doing is using vivid language, stories, or what-if scenarios to drive your point home. The most persuasive speakers help people see the future that they want them to walk towards. I'm now going to call upon the evaluators of Ali's speech, and these are going to be Mugabi, who is going to evaluate the content, and Daudi says that if he could persuade people to take one action, it will be to ask a silly question. He believes that silly questions break down barriers, spark creativity, and remind us not to take life too seriously. They lighten the mood, invite curiosity, and often lead to surprising insights. What seems silly at first can challenge assumptions, open minds, and connect people through laughter. For Daudi, silliness isn't just play, it's a gateway to deeper thinking and genuine connections. Kisakye Purple is going to be evaluating Eric's delivery, and she says that if given a chance, she will persuade everyone in the room to embrace etiquette as a lifestyle. She believes that everyday kindness, like offering a compliment, allowing someone to go ahead in line, or encourage a fellow driver, can transform the way we live and relate. Etiquette isn't just about manners, it's about creating a world where others feel valued, safe, and uplifted. We all play a role. On the other hand, small lapses like harsh words or withheld praise can add stress and negativity. Her message is simple: through intentional acts of courtesy, we create brighter, more compassionate communities. I'll request Daudi Mugabi to go first, then for him to invite Kisakye Purple, and then Kisakye to invite Ken Agutu to evaluate the language of Eric. Over to you, Daudi.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. As mentioned earlier, I will be evaluating Toastmaster Eric's content of the speech. What did I love about your speech, Eric? First of all, when it comes to the speech development, I liked your introduction with the mirror. That set the scene on what exactly your theme was in terms of your key message. You then had a body which brought to light what your key message was, and that was highlighting the fact that mentorship is a two-way street. And you illustrated that with some of the examples that you shared, such as you learning how to tone your voice to explain to people better, and for Mike, learning how to become a more confident speaker, delivering a speech beyond just 1 minute to actually 30 minutes. You also had a very strong conclusion that tied your whole structure very neatly with a very strong call to action, which was emphasizing to us the value in looking at a mentee as someone that we too as mentors can learn from. That circled back to your mirror metaphor. When it came to the audience engagement, or rather the audience response, because it's an online meeting, I couldn't quite sense how well the audience were receiving your delivery. And so that was a bit tricky for me. But what I can say is that the subject was very relevant to us because we are in Toastmasters and we're here to learn from each other and also to help others grow. So the message that you had around being a mirror as a mentee to a mentor was very, very critical to us, and I felt it was relevant as well. Lastly, when it comes to the speech value, like I emphasized in the beginning, your message of having that mindset of mentoring someone with the eye to learn something from them, specifically something that you can see in them and grow from, was very, very key for me. And I love that. How are some of the ways in which you can develop as an advanced speaker? I'll circle back to the 3 elements, starting with speech development. I mentioned earlier that your structure was very good. However, I felt that when it came to the time lapses, there was room for us to learn more. There were mercurial shifts from how you grew as a mentor to how your mentee grew. And that robbed you of opportunities to lay a foundation, to tell us in more detail how exactly either of you grew. For instance, you could have told us about a challenge that you had earlier and how that was overcome through your lesson learned from your mentee and vice versa. Audience engagement, it would be nice for you to incorporate some humor, or at the very least engage the audience using online tools such as using emojis or chatting in the message box to let us know how well we are responding to your message. And finally, when it came to the message itself, just some supporting materials to help you, as I mentioned earlier, with a few examples before and after. Overall, you had a very good concept, you had good structure and well-supported ideas. With incorporation of audience engagement, I believe you will become a much better speaker. So well done, Eric. Thank you very much. And at this juncture, I would like to invite Toastmaster Purple Kisakye, who is going to evaluate your delivery. Over to you, Toastmaster Purple.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Daudi. Eric, thank you for our very relatable speech and relevant, given that majority of the people on this call have either been mentored or been mentors. Your delivery was quite good. You used great gestures. Like when you said way back, I loved how you tried to show us the time lapse using your hands and your body. And your vocal variety was also good. Your tonality on quite a number of words came out very well. Great pace. You had a great pace. I liked how you keep. Okay. Sorry. Kindly turn your
gadget, because your.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
That's better.
It is.
Okay. Yeah, the tonality was good with very many words, and the words were well paced. I loved that you had powerful demeanors. In my view, I really saw powerful demeanors. Most times when you kept saying mentor, mentee, we could feel what exactly you're talking about. And so these were great. These supported your movements in your speech. What do I feel you should have done better? I advise that you opt for shorter sentences. About 3 of your sentences had 15 words. That's a complete standard sentence, 15 words. However, I feel you would have gone for sentences with between 6 to 10 words. At some point, I would feel your mouth full, and that would affect your delivery in future. Your hands really dominated my screen, and that affected your posture. I advise you move a little further from the screen as you're talking, so that we can get to see a bigger part of you. Otherwise, you are so much into, your hands were so much into my screen. Other than that, you did well. To wrap it all, if you continue with the great gestures, good vocal variety, pacing your words, and your great tonality, the powerful demeanors, and you just work on making your sentences a little shorter and moving further from your screen, you will make a great speaker. And on that note, I would like to thank you for the very relatable and relevant speech this evening. And in the same accord, I call on Ken Agutu to evaluate your language. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Toastmaster Eric, wow, beautiful speech, very, very beautiful speech, very good use of language. What is it that I expected you as a speaker to deliver today? Number one was clarity, to assess how clearly you convey the message, including your articulation, your pronunciation, and the grammar, your vocabulary, and the impact that this speech had on the audience. I'll just start with your clarity. I felt that you're very clear because you speak well and your words came out. Your pronunciations were really, really good. I also felt that your choice of language was not too technical. But here is a place where now I have a little issue. Whereas it was not too technical, there were times that you used difficult words. I appreciate you've got a wide vocabulary, but there was an opportunity to use simpler language in some cases. Not non-technical, but just simpler. I also want to say that you used some very good expressions. For instance, you said, powerful two-way trade. But now what you said was two ways when you actually meant two-way. The other area that I thought you could really, really work on, you used the word of the day 3 times, and in only one occasion was it used correctly. There's a time you talked about the mercurial 2019 period. Not too sure what that meant. I know you're talking about COVID, but was the period mercurial really, or it was all down? You also said he didn't have the rudiments to share, and the word rudiments just didn't quite fit in there. So in brief, what I'm saying is your usage of language is very good. You are a king of the language. You understand and you speak good English, but there's a way that you can try and use simpler words, even if they're not technical. There's a way that you can try and relate what you're saying, like the word of the day, to what you're saying. But otherwise, very, very good job, Toastmaster Eric. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Daudi, Kisakye, and Ken for your evaluations of Eric's speech. Next, we're going to move on to Winston's speech evaluation, and we have Dinah, Oundo, Lucy, Wanjiru, and Ken again. Dinah says that if she could persuade people to take one action, it would be to take time off and rest. She believes that while many think working more brings them closer to their goals, there is immense energy that comes from a reset, and that reset begins with rest. Lucy says that she will encourage others to let their inner child shine. She urges people to let down their guard, stay curious, be vulnerable, play, and even get their clothes or hands dirty. Her children constantly remind her of the joy in these qualities, and practicing them has been deeply rewarding. As adults, Lucy believes we often get caught up in goals and ambitions, forgetting to live in the moment like children. She suggests we should learn to savor the present and find joy in balancing where we are with where we want to go. Over to you, Dinah Oundo, to give us Winston's content evaluation.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the evening. Winston Owino, I loved how you started your speech. It was very clear that you had a thought out and practiced speech structure. The speech had a clear introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And I loved that it was very structured from the start all through towards the end. When it came to the organization of your speech, it was very clear that in the body, it brought out the 4 C's 2 forces of leverage and how to ensure that we save time. And that helped you build more and more on the speech because it was very organized. I loved when it came to audience response, inevitably you had to engage the audience because it was a question and answer session. But I also loved that the certain things you said that caught the audience without you doing too much work. I noticed that Toastmaster of the day smiling when you said the maid mixed up the clothes, the child and the adult clothes right there. So that was something that caught the audience without you having to do too much. Well done on that. When it comes to the speech value, the ideas, very clear, very succinct, and it was quite interesting to see that we could follow through from the start to the end. Everything you said was clear. It was a very brilliant way of coming up with your value of the speech. Originality. Your speech was quite original. Personal experience, personal story, how you were before you got a child, and then when you got a child, you related this to your workspace and how you very original. How can you make your speech even better next time if you attempt to do this project? I would highlight 2 areas. For starters, when we get back to the speech development, supporting material, I'd encourage you to use a prop. And when it comes to an online meeting, it's even easier that you may not carry a physical prop, but you could maybe share screen and project something that would help you enhance your speech. For example, maybe one of the mixed up clothes that could have gone bad or mixed up a color and it's not working anymore. That would help us understand how best you are explaining this point, but it would also enhance your speech really well. A second area you could consider is under your speech value, looking at the logic. You had quite a number of points which were very, very good, interesting, the forces, the capital, content, pod, and collaboration. I would encourage that you make them fewer, perhaps if they're 3, it would make it easier for us to remember, because now, even to remember the 4, I had to look at my book. But if you have 3, they're elaborate, explained, and summarized, then it's easier for somebody to have a take home at the end of your delivery. Having said that, I enjoyed your speech, I enjoyed the structure, I enjoyed that you had a good introduction, a body, and a call to action, where you kept re-emphasizing your 4 Cs. I picked up some nuggets and I know that I'll be able to buy my time back. I now want to hand over to Lucy Wanjiru for the delivery evaluation. Over to you, Lucy.
Thank you very much, Dinah. Oundo. Winston, welcome to parenthood. This is the real side of your mature part of life. 1 minute they are so cute, and the next minute you want to take them back wherever they came from. But then, get here for the long run. Thank you so much for that beautiful speech that you shared with us. Buy back your time, achieve your goals. Fantastic title. You started with such a strong voice and with such great demeanor. So humble. You have been humbled by parenthood. That was fantastic. I just enjoyed watching you and listening to you tell us the story of how you are now a dad and absolutely enjoying the process while still mitigating all the challenges that have come with you being a father and a husband. Wonderful speech, wonderful storytelling. I enjoyed the flow. It was easy to follow from the beginning to the end. It did not feel like 15 minutes, to be honest, because we were there with you. We could feel you. Some of us could relate to you. I also enjoyed the body language, as has been alluded. You showed us about the clothes. You showed us many other things. And I like the way that you used your hands and you used your body to explain the different occurrences throughout your story. I also really enjoyed
when you were talking, the structure you brought in when you're giving us the 4 points, because it was so beautifully structured that you brought to us something that is so relevant, balancing professional life with home life, both extremely important and somehow bringing some synergy into all of that. What do I think would have been much better when it comes to delivery? First on that list is audience involvement. You had wonderful rhetorical questions. I enjoyed the use of rhetorical questions because you just took us in and out of what the conversations were within your head and with other people within the story. But it would have been interesting to also have those questions come to the audience, because this is a 15 to 20 minute speech, right? And you want to engage and make sure people are still there with you. So make those questions real questions that your audience can respond to. The other thing is your tone of variation. You had opportunity when you had a conversation with your wife when she said, I think there's something wrong. Change your voice so we can hear your wife's voice. When the hospital called you and said, come and discharge your people, change your voice so that we know it's somebody from the hospital that is speaking to you. That brings in that enthusiasm, that variety that you need to engage your audience, especially because it's a long speech, once again. You also had an opportunity to use the slides or move from side to side. What do I mean? When you are bringing in your 4 factors, slides would have been interesting, something like what the TMOD is using today. It's not anything crazy, anything you need to work too hard on, but it's something that helps us, as Dinah says, remember the 4 things that you want us to have. So Capital, choose a picture that shows that nicely, content, code, collaboration, it sticks with the audience even better, and people then watch you because they want to see what is going to come next. Otherwise, your delivery was fantastic, storytelling was on point, but I wish you engaged us a little bit more with the things that I have shared. Allow me then to invite Ken Agutu, the king of our language, to tell us more about your use of the king's language. Over to you, Ken.
Thank you. And there's pressure from Lucy. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Winston. Wow, what a good speech and what good use of language. I will just add on to what Lucy has said about congratulations on you being a father. Your language was so rich, I thought you were just going to say that now you understand why some animals eat their young. That's back to your speech. You used some really, really flowery language, and your speech flowed because you chose the right words. You've got wonderful vocabulary, and you did not spare us anything. You said things like sleep-deprived, lethargic. You said model the process to get the output you desire. Your speech was really, really good. Because of that, your speech was clear. Yes, take for that. Wide vocabulary, we all noticed that. Check. The audience was actually hooked. So the impact of you using good language got the audience to be hooked onto what you are saying. One area that I'd like you to think about is you said something like, you said my wife, no, me and my wife. The correct usage in good English, you say my wife and I. So you start with the second party, then the first party. My wife and I, and not me and my wife. The other thing that I know everybody does is try to find ways of getting us to remember something that you've said. So you said the 4 C's. Whereas it sounded really, really nice, I can tell you beyond a certain age or beyond a certain time, people think of things in 3s and not 4s. I've tried to remember what the 4th C was, I can't. So maybe it's just me. There's what we call the tricolon. The tricolon is the use of 3 phrases, 3 ideas of 3 words, like you would say, Veni, Vidi, Vici. Vici, I came, I saw, I conquered. Blood, sweat, and tears, things like that. So think about, try using the power of 3 next time, but that's probably nitpicking because you did a really, really good job. Back to you, Toastmaster today.
Thank you so much, Dinah, Lucy, and Ken for your evaluations of Winston's speech. We'll now move on to the reports segment of our meeting, and we'll hear the reports from the timer and the grammarian, and finally from the general evaluator. But before that, let me give you the final step when persuading an audience, and that is action, and with a specific call to action. Inspiration without direction dies very quickly. That is what the Expert Edge podcast says. And so in this final step, what you're doing is it is incomplete. Your speech is incomplete without a clear next step. You need to challenge your audience to act on something. Each member of the audience needs to leave with one thing they are moved to act on after your speech. I would now like to invite the timer to give us her report. And before
Thank
that,
you very much, Toastmaster of the evening. On to my report. Our first speaker, Ali Makori, used 7 minutes 9 seconds. And the second speaker, Winston Owino, 20 minutes 4 seconds. They were all within time. On to the table topic speakers. The first table topic speaker, Mukesha, 1 minute 44 seconds. The second speaker, Chipto, 1 minute 32 seconds. The third speaker, Liamina, 1 minute 28 seconds. And then the last speaker, Maggy Waithiru, 1 minute 52 seconds. They were all within time. To the evaluator. For the first speaker, the content evaluator, Daudi Mugabi, took 3 minutes 39 seconds. He was not within time. Delivery evaluator Purple, 3 minutes 20 seconds. She was within time.
we've lost you, Madam Timer. Thank you very much, Madam Timer. For the sake of time, I would now like to move on to the grammarian. Over to you, Ken, to give us your report.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster today. That's a lot of pressure. Just trying to catch my breath from the other evaluations, but I think I'm ready. The word of the day this evening was mercurial. I know I got thrown out at some point, but still, I feel that it was not used as many times as I thought it should have. I just heard it from Toastmaster Eric Makori once correctly, Dinah once, Daudi Mugabi once. And if you used it and I didn't hear it, sorry, but thank you very much. Let's try and practice this word and use it more and more and more. The other thing I'd like to say on top of what I've said about the speeches during the language evaluations is that there was a lot of rich language, even in the table topic session. Our Toastmaster of the day did a really, really good job. He's usually a very articulate speaker. He didn't fail this time. His theme was full of nuggets, but more than anything else, very, very good use of language. I heard somebody say, excuse me. Yeah, I had somebody saying speaking at a voice when what they wanted to say was speaking in a voice. So if you say, I speak in a low voice or I speak in a low tone, but you cannot say, I speak at a voice. Then someone also talked about turning down the fire when I think what they actually meant was turning down the heat or reducing the fire. turning down the fire just doesn't sound quite right. Again, I also and everything. I know we use this quite a lot in speech, but sometimes we use it when we actually mean everything, not each. So before you say each and everything, because it's used a lot in speech, please try and ensure that it actually means what you intended it to be. I've talked about someone saying me and my wife instead of my wife and I, and then the word listening. There's no emphasis on the E. You don't say listening. It is listening. Then the person that introduced the speech by Toastmaster Winston Owino actually said, I will be evaluating Toastmaster Winston. What you should have said was that I will be evaluating the speech by Toastmaster Winston. What you're evaluating is actually the speech and not the person. There was also, we are meeting twice a week, twice a month. We hold meetings twice a month, or we hold meetings 2 times in a month, not we are meeting twice a month. And finally, somebody said, performing some presentations. That sounds a little clumsy. You make presentations, you give presentations, but you don't perform presentations. Apart from that, good job. Thank you, Watabaruku. Thank you, everybody that turned up. It's been a wonderful evening of rich language usage, and I'll surely be back. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much, our grammarian, Ken Agutu, for that report and helping us get better in our language. And now I'll finally like to bring in our general evaluator, Jude Benda. Over to you, Jude.
Right. Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the evening. Good evening once again. My report is quite lengthy, so I will be brief, but I will write a written report and submit it to Watabaruku Toastmasters Club. Well, I want to commend Watabaruku for a wonderful meeting, which started some time back. I remember I was contacted on the 7th of this month to be the general evaluator, and most of the roles were already occupied, meaning the Vice President Education took his time to fill the roles, and they were all up and running. The materials were shared, the Toastmaster of the Day shared the theme question and kept on encouraging us to prepare for the meeting. The publicity was clear and very wide, and that's why we have quite a number of people still online. And the agenda was also shared quite in advance. Thank you to the Toastmaster of the Day and the Vice President Education. What I loved most was the meeting started at 7 sharp. And before that, the meeting was opened even earlier and was engaging by the Sergeant at Arms who took us through the word game. As much as I did not participate, but other people did participate, and was really invigorating. The acting president opened the meeting warmly and welcomed everyone on stage, including the guests, the visiting Toastmasters, and even introduced the Exco that is serving Watabaruku Toastmasters, Advanced Toastmasters Club, and went on to introduce the Toastmaster of the Day. But before that, the SAA, when she came on and told us the etiquettes of the meeting, and even recited the club mission, I thought that was a hook to tell us more about Toastmasters. The other one was that most of the role takers were prepared. They took their time to prepare for their roles, even the speakers. The speakers, I may not give you feedback. Some of the feedback I've written in the polls, but also the content, the delivery, and language evaluators have given you good feedback. And I want to commend you for the good work that you have done and that you put in to prepare for these speeches. The Toastmaster of the Day's theme was spot on, and even asked us, the role takers, to make sure that we answer that theme question, and that in a way was reflecting on the theme and also helping people understand the theme even more, giving us more nuggets on how to persuade people, how to be motivational, and using the steps of attention, need, satisfaction, and visualization. I thought that was good. Keep it up, Toastmaster of the day. Where I would suggest that we could improve, first of all, is about the evaluation. My friend Ken talked about it, the issue of evaluating a person, but instead we evaluate a speech. While you're evaluating, we try to avoid words like if you work on this, instead say when you work. If is like an optional. It is optional. The person may not do it, or they may do it. But when you say when, then it is a must, and that improves the content of someone. Then the use of but. I loved what you said. I loved everything that you have done. Your vocal variety was good, but. Now, the moment you say but, that means that all the above that you said are now washed away. They no longer mean anything. So we try to avoid but, if, while we are evaluating. The other one is, Madam SAA, while you're reciting the theme, okay, the mission of our club, invite all of us to join you and recite together so that we can understand what it really means. Then I also thought we would share the minutes of the previous meeting. Probably this is something that we don't do at Watabaruku, but if we do, then it is something that we ought to have done. Then finally, it's about the video setting of our gadgets. I realized that sometimes we had issues with the video settings, like one of the evaluators, even some speakers, they were very close to the gadget and we could not see their body expressions very well. Otherwise, I loved being here and I have learned quite a lot in an advanced Toastmasters Club meeting. Thank you, Watabaruku, for the opportunity to learn, and back to you, our Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator Jude, for giving us that feedback, helping us get better as individuals and also as a club. And so finally, persuasion is about serving others by helping them choose the best version of themselves. And when you argue right, you earn the right to lead. And so let us continue to build the right to lead, one persuasive speech at a time, by first of all starting with grabbing the attention, making clear that there is a need, providing a satisfaction, a solution that they can follow, helping them visualize the future, and finally giving them concrete steps that they can take to reach that future that we are offering them. It was a great pleasure for me to be the Toastmaster of the day for this meeting. Back to you, Mr. Immediate Past President Kevin, to close the meeting.
Absolutely amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Robert Karanja, for an amazing meeting that is well structured, well prepared for, and well run. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite you to join me in a thunderous round of applause once more to our Toastmaster of today evening, Robert Karanja, and his amazing role takers for an amazing meeting. Thank you so much, Robert. Amazing stuff. And on a personal note, thank you so much, Robert, for calling me out of retirement and allowing me one more opportunity to relive my glorious past as a presiding officer. Thank you so much. All the role takers indeed were well prepared in today's meeting. I really did enjoy the speeches, Alligator Makori, who happens to be my mentor, and our newest member, Sir Winston Owino. Congratulations on your newfound bundle of joy, and all the best as you navigate life going forward. Indeed, all the role takers came in well charged, well prepared. The guests were also a big part of our meeting and visiting Toastmasters. Indeed, you all contributed in making tonight's meeting a very memorable and remarkable meeting. At this point, allow me to invite the Sergeant at Arms, and if you could tell us if the poll results are ready. Over to you, Maggy Waithiru.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Indeed, the polls are ready. We are not going to be able to share the certificate because I'm having issues with my computer. For the favorite table topic speaker, your choice was Geraldine Mukesha. Well done, Geraldine. I hope you're still here. Otherwise, we are not going to celebrate you as loudly. If you're not here, very well done. For your favorite evaluator, your choice was Dinah Oundo. Thank you, Dinah. We look forward to having you here again. And for your favorite speaker, you all, or most of you, you chose Winston Owino. Thank you very much for your engagement. Back to you, Presiding Officer.
Thank you so much, SAA, for your wonderful task. Well done. Indeed, we are all winners in a way just by trying. At this point, allow me to sample a little bit of feedback from our guests, just so that we don't allow them to go without telling us how they found our meeting and places where probably we can improve. And to start us off, I will give this opportunity to Mercy Wachira. Mercy Wachira, over to you.
Thank you so much. This is my first time here at Watabaruku, but I am from Simba Toastmasters Club. And it's very exciting to see, especially the segment where you're giving the feedback on the content and the delivery. That is something new that I've not seen in the other Toastmasters Club that I've joined. And yeah, so I enjoyed the meeting, I enjoyed the speakers, and I enjoyed the theme, and I'll definitely come back again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mercy. Indeed, we hope to see you more and more times, and say hi to our friends over back there at the only Saturday club in Toastmasters Nairobi. The other person that will give us a little bit of feedback, Wahu Mutua. Wahu Mutua, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I also enjoyed the session. I joined a bit late, but I really enjoyed the speech by Winston. It's my first time joining Toastmasters Watabaruku, and my second time joining any Toastmasters meeting. I'm still getting the hang of it, and I'm really enjoying and learning a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wahu. And to wrap it up, I will invite Leah Minja, looking all the way from Dar es Salaam. Over to you, Leah.
Thank you, IPP Kevin Mwandoe. It's been a pleasure to join today's meeting from Watabaruku. This is actually my second time attending as a VT from Dar es Salaam. It has been quite an insightful one. I've learned so much, and also according to the content and delivery and evaluation, how you are conducting evaluation is quite interesting and very insightful. I look forward to attending other of your meetings in the near time soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leah, and we indeed hope to see you more and more here at Watabaruku Toastmasters. At this point, allow me to invite our president to make any announcements from the Exco. Over to you, Robert Karanja.
Thank you so much. I think the only announcement that we have from the Exco is that we are going to be having our moments of truth during our next meeting to look at the different aspects of our clubs, and so inviting all the club members to make sure that they make time to attend that particular meeting. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Robert Karanja, our president. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it has come to the end of our 118th meeting. It has been fun having you here with us this evening, and it has been a moment of learning for each and every one of us. At this point, being 3 minutes past 9 p.m. East African time, allow me to adjourn the meeting and announce that the next meeting will be on the 8th of August, 2025, where I, yours truly, will be the Toastmaster of the evening. Hoping to see all of you then. Have a good evening and enjoy your weekend.
Good evening.